What's up everybody, how's it going? It's Berk, aka Dansgwait here, and welcome back to this adventure in which I try to complete Final Fantasy IX using only the attack command and no magic stones. We have almost made it to the end, my friends, so let's continue on with this series and see if we can get to and defeat the final boss of the game in this episode. Thank you as always for the massive support in this series. Please remember to hit that like button if you are enjoying the content. Let's get into it and continue the journey. Okay then, things have gotten a lot more boss battle heavy. In the last session we took on a whole bunch of boss battles, and the last one that we did was Tiamat. And that one was a little bit difficult. It took us a few tries to get it, but we managed to get there, and with that we are getting very close to completing things in Memoria. Now, of course, there's been a few times where I've had trouble with, like, right after I defeat a boss, before I get to the next save point or where I can have a tent or something like that, I end up getting into a random encounter when I have low HP or KO'd characters and getting myself into a lot of trouble. So I immediately just went into the menu here, I revived Amaran and made sure I healed him up because that was just not a risk I was willing to take, and it was worth using these extra potions. And so we are continuing to take big strides towards the final boss. So I switch back to my usual equipment here, again the most kind of strength that I can have. The random encounters we've been fighting have been tough, but we've generally been managing to get through, and because they offer a lot of experience we're still continuing to level up, and so I want to get as much of that strength as I can during the process. Okay, so we head to this incredible looking screen. I think it's one of my favorite shots of the entire game. It looks really cool. But from here onwards we are going to start more regularly encountering behemoths, so we have to be very careful. Behemoth is a kind of boss that, because it does use Meteor, there's just a huge amount of variance in what can happen when Meteor is cast, so we are going to have to ride our luck a little bit. But if there's one good thing about this final dungeon of Final Fantasy IX, is that you have a lot of saves along the way, and so if anything does end up killing you, you're not really going to be set back too far, and you can rely a little bit on RNG sometimes to try to get more favorable encounters. Let's say you're getting back attacked and that's causing you problems, you can reset, try again until you have a run where you don't get one, etc, etc. And you're seeing now, like, yes, Zidane got virus, but at the end of the day we took out the random encounter pretty quickly, and even though it cost him the ability to gain some experience, all said is generally much more quicker and easier to get through if you're not running into behemoths. So I'm really just draining these final bits of resources here. We have such a short amount of time left to go before we make it to the end. I mean, already another save point, as you can see. And so it's not too difficult to make progress here, despite the tough encounters. And so from here, we head to a section of the game which I admittedly kind of forgot was here. This underwater section, before you continue, this is, of course, where Hades resides. And I thought to myself, shit, like, obviously I know people are going to ask me about certain optional bosses that you can fight. Bosses like Hades, bosses like Ozma, and bosses like Tantarian. And I was like, well, we gave Tantarian a bit of a go, and I think it's pretty clear that, especially with the stats we had at the time, it was a bit of a no-go. But Hades, like, I don't remember too much from it other than the fact that he can really hit you hard with a lot of really bad status effects. But the same equation that is always kind of prevalent in these, especially in these earlier Final Fantasies, still comes into play. Even though he's supposed to be an optional difficult boss, more difficult than almost anything that you encounter in the story, he still has relatively low HP compared to, you know, what it could be. And so I wanted to investigate this because, well, A, can we even defeat him? And B, if we do defeat him, is there anything valuable in his workshop that could potentially help for the battles ahead? So without too much kind of thinking about this, I decided to just keep rolling and seeing what would happen if we battle Hades. So you're going to see here, there's literally, like, I didn't go into like a big kind of setup here or anything like that. I genuinely kind of forgot enough of what Hades did. I knew Status Effects was going to be a thing, but outside of that, I didn't really remember moves and stuff specifically. So epic design here, really cool battle arena as well, and we're literally just getting straight into it here. So he cast a Reflect, which is an excellent waste of his time in an attack only challenge. And as I say, around 60k HP, much like any other major boss in the game. And we are doing so much damage per round here that we're not going to have to survive like a crazy amount of things here to have a chance. Great evasion there from Freya. So that's 2 turns at the moment that's been wasted. And we are roughly doing about 15k or something like that per kind of round. And so it's not going to take all that long, especially if someone gets tranced. And so this is already like we're off to a pretty hot start here. Hopefully Steiner can land some trance hits. So another wasted turn. So literally he's had about 4 turns where he hasn't killed anybody or put anybody under any kind of status effect. So this has been a massive waste of time from Hades. I don't know if this is very good RNG or he pretty much always follows the same kind of turns, but I think you're going to be able to predict what's going to happen here. He is wasting so much time. It's taking him so long to do whatever it is he's going to do. And we are doing so much damage, especially with Trance. Look how long this countdown is. It's insane. So he has no counter attacks or anything like that. Just very, very, very slow. And so, yeah, we literally took care of Hades on our first try without making any preparations or doing anything. This was hilarious. Like, I genuinely believed, like, the reason I didn't do any preparation was like, he's probably going to kill us anyway. Let's just go in, see what moves he has, what statuses we have to deal with, how does it all work, and then we'll build like an idea around that. And then I just killed him first time, and I was like, oh, okay. Was not expecting that. So yeah, that was that could have literally been an episode in and of itself if it was like a super tough battle that required a lot of, you know, interesting stuff to get through. But it wasn't. So now we have his workshop here. And this one, like, reducing all elemental damage by 50% is pretty nice. But honestly, like, there wasn't too much, like, honestly crazy stuff that I thought I could probably benefit from here. And, well, most of it was unavailable to me anyway. I forgot to get Sinner's Hammer, which would have helped me craft the Tin Armor, which is a very good armor for Steiner. But in general, like, we've mostly been wanting and needing protection from elements. That's generally served us better than just having a raw defense stat. And so for me, I had to look at this, and I kind of quickly googled, like, how to even get the hammer. Is it worth trying to backtrack and find it again, and that kind of thing? And I just decided, nah, it's not worth it. We will continue on without it. So basically, I defeated Hades, and I kind of didn't do anything from the workshop, and I just decided to press on. And if there was anything specific from the shop I decide I need later on, then I can always come back to it. So Hades, in that sense, was kind of anticlimactic. I beat him first time pretty easily, and I didn't even make use of his shop. So we're going to move on from here towards the next boss in this final dungeon. Now, thanks to the Jagged Guide, I did know what to expect next, and the next battle we are going to fight is against Kraken. This one is the Water Chaos. So yes, obviously we are going to have to try and get some level of water protection here. Now, I didn't have like anything, I didn't have like 4 accessories to absorb water or anything like that, but I did try to set up as much as I can, and we will see how our first attempt goes against the Kraken. Alright, here we go, another 60k customer. That's the standard, as I've been saying. It's basically always the same. I do wish they had higher HP, I really do, towards the end of the game. I mean, as you've seen, yes, I have been optimizing for strength, but I'm not like level 99 or something, and still we're getting a lot of damage in here. So Water Gun comes in, and Amaran heals from it because he has a ribbon equipped. And so the guys who have ribbon equipped, they're going to have a good time here. It's going to be much, much easier. But this one in general is a tougher fight than Hades because of the counter attacks. So came back with an ink there, and then used the freeze spell. So the thing about freeze is that obviously it works a little differently from heat, but the outcome's kind of the same. If someone is frozen and they take a hit, they will automatically go down to 0 HP and be KO'd. So if you don't have any water protection, let's say you've been rushing too much here, and you haven't picked up any ribbons, you haven't been kind of paying attention to the guides, or you don't have the game knowledge to know how to get those ribbons, then this is a kind of fight where you're going to really suffer, and you're going to be potentially a little bit stuck. So the ribbons are going to do a lot of heavy lifting here, because you're just going to get a lot of free damage here, and negate these harsh water gun counterattacks. So 2 of our characters are blinded here. As you've seen, even with darkness you can still make the hit sometimes, but obviously the chances are greatly diminished. Thankfully, freeze is going on the characters that are blinded anyway, so it's not as big a deal. And Zidane is brewing up a trance if it becomes necessary, but he's not even taking damage right now. So we'll see. So this is 3 sets of darkness now. Thankfully it missed. There we go. I have generally been trying to make sure that my magic evasion and my evasion is pretty good. I think that's arguably more important than just having a high like defense stat or magic defense stat in this particular run. There's nothing better than when a status or an attack completely misses you as opposed to diminishing the damage, right? So then Waterga comes in, gonna hit I think everybody, and there you go. So thankfully Steiner and Freya are able to completely guard against it. And so in that sense, like the water elemental stuff is absolutely no problem to us, which is a relief. So now I speed things up, I'm starting to feel more confident, I'm thinking, okay, it's just a matter of time. So we're really just trying to move things along, but everybody has darkness now, so we're going to have to kind of wait for the RNG to click in our favor here. I mean, imagine again, if you didn't have the right water protection here, you've got darkness, you're being countered for everything, like you're just not going to last very long in this fight, because these are very damaging attacks. Like you might survive 1 tops, like you're going to die from most of this stuff. And there you go. So once again, a first time win, but everybody had water protection, so in that sense it was going to be a little bit of a formality. So already we have defeated 2 bosses in no time at all, and we continue to move. Once again, got to remember to get rid of these status effects. I probably should have healed there. I'm not sure that was the best idea, but there is a save here. So I'm going to quickly try and find it. The fact that they're hidden is a little bit cheeky. I think I panic a little bit here. I'm like, just in case I step into an encounter, like literally right before, like 1 step away from the save, I'm going to just heal up a little bit here. So I gave myself a little more HP, and I'm still looking for it. And that's exactly what happens. I run into an encounter, and this time it is the behemoth, the one that I've been worried about all along. Let's have a look at this encounter. I literally tried to run from this one because I'm so close to a save sphere. I know that I need to get there. But when you encounter high level stuff, running away is not very easy. Now I do think we can defeat this guy, but right now I was really on a push to get to the end, and so I decided to just keep going until I found the save. So you're seeing me kind of look around, it's right in the corner, and so now I can kind of heal safely. Because if I'd have found the save sphere properly in the first place, I would have never triggered that encounter. So I decided to just bypass that one and save. Okay, so now I'm trying to whiz through, and I encounter this guy. So I got a little bit luckier this time. And this is what I mean about the RNG. It's like, if you can't face the behemoth, if you keep getting killed by it, I'm sure you'll have an RNG run where you can basically avoid encountering it completely. I don't think there's an area like that has 100% spawn rate for that. So yeah, that attack is very damaging, but I think again, compared to a behemoth, this guy is far weaker. Has less HP as well, and doesn't have a meteor attack from what I know. So should have a much better chance. But definitely dangerous move there. Okay. But you're seeing again, 1 encounter and already I've taken like 6,000 damage, and to heal through that to make sure I have full HP for the next one, it's a big resource strain. And well, yes, remembering to keep swapping back to your like power stuff is just a bit annoying. There's definitely a few times I forgot, like let's say I've gone up like, I don't know, collectively 30 to 50 levels depending on the character. I think there's been maybe 3 to 5 levels where I've just forgotten to equip their strongest thing, and not had like the strength bonus as a result, but it's not perfect. So here, because I encountered something so quickly, I decided to try and save again. Okay, so now I'm going to try and see if I can get through with a clear run. This time I kind of went the wrong way. I didn't realize there was a smaller doors on the end. But as you can see, as I mentioned before, you can get through that bit without encountering anything as well. So it's all good. So we continue our path up and through. And in this particular area, we can pick up Vivi's ultimate weapon. Obviously, he's not really a factor here, but hey, let's just say for whatever reason you're doing this run with Vivi, you're doing like a can the mages do this in attack only, then yeah, I mean, you'd probably be wanting to pick that one up. Now, next up, we have a boss battle that we faced previously that was a little bit annoying because we are going to face a Lich, and this guy is the one that I assumed previously, like the Earth Guardian, who I prepped for with like Earth defending stuff. And then he basically just didn't use Earth for like the entire first fight. He just used a whole bunch of different stuff except for Earth. But this time, again, I'm still obviously going to make my preparations. I'm going to get feather boots on everybody. I have 4 of them. And I still have enough stuff left over to protect against other elements as well. And so once again, elemental protection, that's pretty much all I can do. I can't really protect against statuses other than having as much magic evasion as possible. And so we will head in against Lich and we'll see what kind of elements we get this time in our encounter. No prizes for guessing how much HP he has. Again, the 60,000 mark. Let's get straight to it. Now, Venom Powder is the first move, which is a pretty harsh because Steiner is now just stuck. Like, Venom's just a horrific move, man. He's not even like, it's the same effect to stop, but it's even worse. So, he does a level 5 death. Let's see. No one is a multiple of 5. And so we are good. I think that's definitely a consideration. The odds of getting through this fight without ever seeing that move is probably pretty low. And so I think it's a simple but effective thing, of course, to make sure you're not a multiple of 5 coming into this one. Good evasion. But you can see that Venom status just completely just takes you out of the picture. It's really rough. Standard death spell here. Not much we can do about that. So already 2 of the characters have been put out of commission here as a result of status effect. So that's still our like glaring weakness in our arsenal. And now with that, we only have Freya left. So we've done some decent damage, but this is the kind of stage where if you only have 1 character or 2, then 58,000 becomes a lot. And there you go. The status effects completely wipe this out. So once again, this guy is the Earth Guardian, supposedly, well, the Earth Chaos. Did not see a single Earth-based move in that entire thing. So that's why this guy is one of the most annoying bosses of that particular set, because he just doesn't do what he's supposed to do, really. But let's just go straight back in. I feel like I got some harsh RNG there. Maybe he'll start with level 5 death, and that was good RNG there with the crit. And there you go. Okay, so I guess he does have some Earth moves in his arsenal. So it was literally the same thing as when I encountered it the first time. Like, the first battle was no Earth Elementals. And then the second fight, he was like, oh, okay, fine. I'll start doing what you would assume I would do and use some Earth-related spells. So that was a bit annoying. Like, Zidane's back to normal RNG because he's obviously just 1 crit plus a miss. And then there were 3. Another crit there. So overall, my RNG is looking good so far. The longer we can keep all of our characters attacking here, the better it's going to be. Doom is a good move for us, and the fact that it hit Amarant made it an excellent move for us. And so this was much better RNG second time round. Like, by this stage in the first fight, we were basically already down to like 1 character. Right, Venom Powder. That was a little bit rough, but we've done a lot more damage by this stage. So there's less work to do for these 2, but let's see if they can hold on. Okay, so Death Cutter has like a Doom touch to it. At least it's not insta-death, so again, I would say it's pretty good. Level 5 Death. He's also very quick. You're seeing that like we're not really getting many turns at all here. Keep it going. Freya's probably going to die before the next hit. Stock comes in. If it hits Steiner, we're in trouble. Thankfully, it was on Zidane. Let's see if Steiner can finish the job. This has happened on more than 1 occasion where he's been the last one left and had to put the finishing touch on. Let's go, Steiner. Nope. Not quite enough yet. Doom, this is a good move for us. I would say, like, if we need more than 3 moves to do it, we were going to die anyway. So, let's see. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. Of course he can. Steiner is the man. And there you go. So we managed to beat the Lich on the second attempt. The first one was just truly rough RNG. And so with that, we are able to head towards the Crystal World. And here are the final sets of random encounters, the final, like, non-main story boss to fight, and then we have the literal final boss. So we are very, very close to the end. And so here, this was pretty funny. This bit, to me, looks like a cutscene. Basically, Zidane's already walking. I'm not doing anything here. And so, look, I speed up and I'm waiting for him to finish walking towards whatever it is. And then I realize that I have to start walking. And then I encounter a behemoth while I'm walking. And so, this time I was kind of forced to counter him. And he did a meteor counter on us. And I was like, what is even happening here? Everything just happened so fast. And this is why the behemoth is really horrible. But we were incredibly lucky there. Amaran had a very clutch dodge and managed to win the day. So I was like, I need to get out of here as soon as possible. I didn't even know you could encounter stuff in here. I thought this was just like a little kind of cutscene thing. But I used up some of those elixirs to just recover fast. I'm not going to need them. So I was like, get me out of here ASAP. So at least you saw me beat a behemoth as well. They definitely can be defeated, but it's a bit more RNG reliant than like any other random encounter that we'll fight here. But now we can get ourselves into the Crystal World. And well, at least now I've got a bit of an auto save, so even if I die here, I'll be able to come back from this bit. So once again, get those strength-based things back on, because we will probably have to encounter 1 or 2 more random encounters before we can finish things off, and then we will continue our path. So again, I mean, we are, like, the average level of the party is about 48 or something, so I'd say we're still doing very well, considering we're not using any magic stones either. I was very happy with this progress. Like, there hasn't still been a significant grind since literally the very first boss we faced in the game. So I'm pretty happy about that. So that was a clear run. Are there no encounters here? I'm pretty sure you can get encounters here. I think I was just a little bit lucky that time. But yeah, this is basically it. This is the final save point. We have one final boss to defeat here before we can reach Kuja once again. This one, though, this one is significant. So we are fighting against Death Guys next. And I had a look at Jagged, and they bullet point the attacks that Death Guys has. It says Spin, which causes physical damage to all party members. Demon's Claw, which causes physical damage to one party member. Death, which instantly KOs. Twister, which deals wind elemental magic. Meteor, which deals non-elemental damage to everybody. Level 5 Death, which will instantly KO anybody. So of this list, obviously I'm looking at Twister, and I'm like, okay, that's the one reprieve I have. If he does use Twister, at least I'll be able to heal. But the rest of them, I kind of can't do anything about, other than potentially trying to increase my evasion to get away from it. So 55,000 HP. Thankfully, it's not the 60. I think even that extra like 3 to 5k less HP could make a difference. It is an extra hit or two. And you've seen definitely there has been battles where I've won by the skin of my teeth. Where like if I had to survive one more hit, I probably would have failed. And so the fact that it has 55 was also a little bit of a potential advantage for me. Now, one of the problematic things that you've seen so far is any enemy that uses wind, I can't create a setup where this particular party can, like everybody in the party can completely negate the effects of wind. The ribbons, again, are incredibly useful because they can absorb the wind damage. But when it comes to Steiner and Freya, they don't naturally have anything in their armors that can help them negate wind. Like, for example, for Zidane, you can equip something like the Coronet, which will at least negate the wind damage. But for Freya and Steiner, you kind of have to use if you want to reduce wind damage. So this was a little bit of a juggling act to see what I could find in terms of anything that can reduce wind damage and see if I could basically cover the whole party here. So I decided to go for Coronets for Amarant and for Zidane, and I gave Freya and Steiner the ribbons instead so that they could have wind absorption. So that was the general plan, and with that we basically head into the first attempt and see what we can do. So it makes a bit of an impressive little entrance flying down like this. It's a very cool design, I have to say. Very intimidating looking. And this guy, 3,700 on the first hit. That's pretty promising. But this guy always will start with Meteor. So let's see how much damage this does. Oh, would you look at that. 3,800 on Freya. She's dead. Zidane basically will always go into trance as a result if he survives. But already my health has been diminished quite significantly for Amarant and Zidane. But once again, we're off to a good start in terms of damage. We are hurting this thing quite heavily here. But Demon's Claw comes in for 2,100 there. And already 2 of the 4 are dead. So if they can kill off these characters quickly, then obviously, like, once you're down to 1 or 2, your output's going to drop very fast. Amaran and Death Guys trade hits there, but Death Guys is too fast and too good. Eventually takes him out. And then after a time, closes up. And when he closes up... So I've needed to pause there for some reason, I don't remember why. But after Twister, he heals for 585, which is kind of funny. It's such a low amount. But there you go, 2,900. Level 5 Death comes in. Steiner is fine. We keep going. And then comes a regular Death spell. So from our first attempt, we didn't really do too well. And I was thinking to myself, this wasn't exactly like terrible RNG. I mean, Amaran got a dodge in. We had a Twister happen. Like, when an enemy starts a battle with Meteor that has the potential to one-hit KO anyone in your party pretty much, I was like, well, where do I go from here? So I wasn't too sure. I didn't know how much RNG it was going to take, because in terms of like setup, I don't think there was really too much more that I could do here. I mean, all I can really do is stop the wind and try to have as much evasion as is reasonably possible. I give her a pumice piece here just to test, because it says it absorbs Holy/Shadow. I don't know if Death Guys has any shadow attacks. I thought it's worth a try. Turns out that the pumice piece has a very specific use. There's very, very few attacks in the entire game that do shadow damage. We will get to it a little bit later, actually, but for now it was useless for this fight. So I think already I basically replace it. I put it on momentarily and I'm like, nah, that's just not going to work. It's pretty useless. But I'm generally looking for stuff that gives me more defense or magic defense or any kind of boost that I can get. So let's get straight back into it and try and fight him again. And here we go with Meteor again. One thing I wasn't sure about was, is the Death Claw always a counter attack, or is it just very fast? I can't always tell. But this time we all survived. Unfortunately, Zidane was the one who took the most damage. It would have been nice if he took the 800. But we'll take what we can get, and we will start to hopefully get a bit more momentum here. There we go. So all 4 of us got to land attacks, and we did a lot of damage there. But then Spin came in. Very big attack that you cannot evade. At least not very easily. I mean, no one seemed to be able to evade that. And already we're back down to 2. And then there was 1. So he kills us so fast that even if you get a good start, you do like the first 20k very quickly, you're taking a battering like for the rest of the fight. So yeah, this wasn't looking very good. I already got wrecked twice in very quick succession. Okay, straight on with attempt number 3. With this one, again, I tried to see if I could make a few tweaks just to get a little bit more evasion, because it's actually the physical attacks that are causing the most problems here. And I decided to keep... last attempt I didn't do it, but this time I did switch the ribbon onto Zidane to maximize his chances of actually doing something. It's a shame because basically Death Guys doesn't use Twister until it's closed, so we have to survive long enough with enough characters so that when it closes up, then we can benefit from our ribbons. So let's see. So we get the move in before Meteor happens. That's a rarity, but at least we got a little extra damage. Let's see. Freya dies once again, and her like less HP was 3,400. If she was at the level of the other 3, then she would have survived pretty much both of those meteors that have killed her so far. But this time Zidane survives with relatively high HP, and I think that was one of the important prerequisites of this fight. That Zidane's at least able to survive like a Demon's Claw or 2. Good evasion from Amarant. So those are the kind of things I need to go my way in order to win this fight. Another Demon's Claw. This time it hits and it did huge damage there. Last time it did 2,100, this time it did 2,900. It's just a lot of damage to keep up with. And as you can see, I just can't keep up. It's too much. So Meteor plus Demon Claw almost always kills you. But good evasion from Zidane. He's going to do his best to try and solo the rest of it, because he's doing big damage. But already, the limit has run out. The Trance, sorry. And this time he's closed up. So let's hope for a Twister here. Let's see what happens. Nope, he just comes in with a death. And so you're starting to see a picture of what kind of RNG needs to go your way to have a shot here. So it's a mix of getting off to a really quick start. So Meteor not KOing anyone instantly and doing as little damage as possible. And then it's relying on like evasion and RNG, of course, to try and avoid some of those death claws and keep as many people alive as possible for the close phase change. And then once it does close up, rely on it using things like Twister a little bit more instead, so that we can actually stay alive and potentially even heal. So that's the picture that we're starting to build here. Let's continue on. This was already fast becoming one of the bosses that needed the most repeat attempts in the entire run. And it didn't bode well for Kuja and Necron. But of course, there's already a few more things we can do. At this point, I still wanted to have enough repetitions just to see like where the RNG level was at. This was another good start for me. Zidane can survive a Demon's Claw most likely. So let's see, good damage there from Amarant, but a miss from Steiner. Really, like any miss here is really bad. It could be the difference between winning and losing. Spin is a horrible, horrible move. As you can see, I don't think anyone's managed to evade a spin yet. Either it's unevadable or like the requirements to evade it are just too high, or I've just been unlucky. So it does spin twice in a row. So this was looking bad. In terms of further improvements I can make to this strategy, I mean, there's basically two. The first is to farm for Trance, so enter the fight very close to Trance, so that basically from the first Meteor, pretty much everybody gets into Trance, and then we can unload way more damage. So that's going to reduce the RNG requirements significantly. And the second thing is, of course, to level up more. So I haven't got there yet. I was still continuing to kind of put some more repetitions in. But in general, it just wasn't working. I was trying again and again, and Death Guys was proving too difficult to just kind of RNG my way through with this particular setup. But before considering that stuff, I decided to go for one more attempt. Let's see it. Right, Meteor comes in. By this stage, we know what we're looking for with this one. And that was still okay. As long as everybody survives, that's kind of the bare minimum. So Freya, by the skin of her teeth, she survives. But Zidane is one hit away, so this wasn't ideal. But let's go anyway. Good start there from Steiner. So in general, I would say this has been a relatively bad start. Amarant could do over 4,000 damage. He did 3,600. So yeah, so far at least not fantastic. Freya is the one that I'm most willing to lose. And then Steiner comes in with a critical, so my fortunes start to turn a little bit here. Let's see. Demon's Claw again. Amarant survives it. Very important. And now we're starting to build momentum here in this fight. Another critical. So there's your RNG goodness. Huge damage there. So now we're really racking it up. Steiner surviving the claw was also huge. And now after the close, we're looking for a Twister. Amarant missed there, which kind of reset things a little bit, but we're still going strong. Just begging for a Twister here, or a level 5 death. Either one would do. Let's see. A normal death, which was not what I wanted. This was a bad outcome here. But we're still in it. Let's see what it does next. Doesn't need to do anything next, because I got the job done. This is where the 55k HP comes in. I reckon if it had that 59k, then that hit probably wouldn't have killed it, and it would have got one more move, and that could have potentially changed things. But the key there was, of course, survival early on. Having Zidane in Trance, I think if Zidane wasn't in Trance, we wouldn't do enough damage. I got 2 huge critical hits from Steiner and from Amarant, And in general, at least after it went into the second form, I'd already done so much of the work that it was only a matter of time before I could win. So thankfully, without needing like 20, 30, 50 attempts against Death Guys, we made it through. I think it was like 5 attempts or something like that. So I was very relieved that that was the case. And now, all that stands before me is Kuja. Thankfully, you can save and set up before this fight. I was a little bit worried at first. I was like, shit, is this one of these back-to-back fights? It's not. Thankfully, you can go back, you can save, and you can also make any preparations or to go do any side quests that you haven't done, and come back when you are ready to face the literal finale of the game. And so, of course, where I wanted to start was to see what this guy can do. Have my first attempt against him, and just generally see what we're working with. Because there are, of course, some extra things I could do. I basically abandoned the extra chocobo stuff after, like, maybe the first 8 to 10 chests that I found. So there's a few more things I could potentially find from there. Obviously, I can level up more. I can prep trances. I can do a whole bunch of things. But I wanted to just see where we're at when we just go straight in and try to fight first. So I did read, of course, the Jagged Guide, and it says that Trance Kuja has a number of attacks, mostly magical based, including Ultima, Holy, Flare, and Flare Star. So Flare Star is the problem here because it hits the entire party and it's non-elemental. So the main trouble with Trance Kuja is that you can't really do much in terms of elementals in order to like nullify him or to heal. One thing we can do is Holy is something that we can potentially mitigate against because we have the pumice piece. And so that's one small thing that can potentially swing things in our favor. But in general, in terms of trying to stop Kuja's magic, we don't have a huge number of options at our disposal. So I start to have a look and get myself set up here. Other than that, I was still trying to cover some more elements just in case. The Jagged Guide is not comprehensive with these things. It doesn't have like a full move set, all of its elemental affinities, all that kind of stuff. And so in case it did fire off some high-level elemental spells in between, I just threw on a few extra like elemental protection things before giving it my first attempt. So let's head to Trance Kuja for the first time and see how it went. Yeah, so no big long speech before this one. Is basically just time to die, everyone, and we head into the battle. So 55,535 HP. It's another one of those that has slightly below basically what the maximum tends to be for these things. So Zidane immediately gets a turn, which I liked, but Trance Kuja is still faster. So Zidane, even though his ATB was full to start, he still didn't get a turn. Takes the flare. Let's see the damage. 1,920. So depending on random variance, it's going to be pretty tight as to whether he can survive 2 of them or not. But here we go. First set of attacks, nice damage all round. Then a wasted turn with Reflect. We love to see Reflect in the Attack Only challenge. Can cast Reflect as many times as it wants. So racking up the damage here. Every time he uses a Reflect, it basically means like an extra 15,000 damage for us, something like that. Another flare comes in. So far, no Flare Star, and that's the main thing here. Obviously, if he's attacking at this pace and doing about 2,000 damage per character, we're going to win the DPS race. That was unfortunate, that miss there. But still, I would say we're off to a flying start, and then Flare Star comes into it. So basically, after a certain HP threshold, Flare Star starts to become basically a counter attack. And you're going to see what happens here. Big damage on everybody. So it can miss, as you saw, it missed for Amaran, which is pretty big. And Steiner and Freya took relatively little damage. So there's still a chance here. I think we're doing okay. Amaran will survive this flare as well. So I thought to myself, okay, I think we're rolling here. Freya's not too far off a trance, but she won't survive long enough. And there comes another Flare Star. So even though it doesn't often do as much damage as Flare, like 1,500 to 2,000 on all party members, and it becoming a counter attack, obviously, you know, if you do the maths, you're not going to survive for too much longer. But these 2 are the last ones left. Let's see if they can do it. And he can cast Curaga on himself. This is another factor that there's just really nothing we can do. So 3,400, thankfully it's not that powerful. But he comes in with the Holy, so he gets 2 turns in a row here. Always hate it when bosses get multiple turns, but when they're supposed to be the hardest bosses in the game, you kind of have to accept it. And so it's only Freya left and another Flare Star, and of course we are going to be finished after this. So the Flare Star counter was definitely looking like the biggest problem in this fight, and it was going to be obviously a race against time to see if I could defeat it before those counterattacks wiped me out. So first attempt ended in annihilation. Let's jump straight in with attempt number 2. So it seems to like using Flare from the get-go. But this time it's on Freya, which is better for us. I think, again, unfortunately, Freya's probably still the weak link here of the group. Unfortunately, she doesn't have enough HP to survive 2 flares. So I think if we're looking into like how much do we need to level up for this fight, I think leveling up enough to survive 2 flares I think is a good place to start. So Holy comes in this time. No Reflect yet. See who this hits. Zidane, who guards completely against it. Fantastic. So anything that completely wastes a turn is obviously going to be huge for us. But he missed again. So the fact that Zidane seems to... He's the only one I think that's missed twice. But Holy twice in a row. This is still interesting here. Let's see who this one hits. And Morin also guards against it. So this was an excellent start here. But now already the Flare Stars start to come into it. And as soon as this starts happening, the battle just swings. Like for the first 20k damage or so, I think 20-25k, we're doing well. And then it really starts to slip away. So there we go. So we can basically survive 2 Flare Stars from full HP. And so there you go. Immediately again another one. And this was already looking rough because I'm just like, well, I can't damage at a high enough rate here. If I'm only doing 3,000 to 4,000 damage and everyone's getting hit for like 1,500 to 2,000 in return, that's just not a trade that we can win. And well, we're missing as well sometimes. So Kuraga comes in as well to boot. And so our strong start has kind of been wiped away here. And a Reflect. So at least it didn't damage us any further, but when it's using Flare Star, it kind of doesn't need to. So as you can see, the 3rd Flare Star is obviously going to kill everybody, unless we get lucky and we somehow manage to evade. But that didn't seem to happen too frequently. You saw Amaran evade the first one I think we got hit by, but very high percentage chance that it will kill you. So there you go, 2 attempts, 2 fails. So now, once again, I am having a look at my equipment. I had quietly hoped that maybe Flare had a bit of a fire element to it. It does not, and so it doesn't really help me in this fight. Thankfully, the Chimera Armlet is there to at least reduce the Holy damage to 0. And so eventually, what I start to do as well is think to myself, well, if we're in a DPS race, then we're going to need to improve our odds. And one of the best ways to do that is to enter as close to Trance as possible for everybody, so that we can start to do basically double the damage that we normally would. And it also means that if we're in Trance and we land a critical at the same time, we're basically going to be doing pretty much almost like quad 9 level damage. And that's going to be, I think, one of the only ways to make sure that we can overcome this difficulty. So it involved a little bit of time just fighting some more battles, getting my Trance gauge up, and trying to get a couple more level ups in there as well, because as I mentioned earlier, I also wanted Freya to have enough HP to survive against 2 flares. And so to do that, she needed to be at least about 3,800 to 4,000 HP. So this was one of the first times in a while where I did a little bit of dedicated farming. So after about 25 minutes of this stuff, I had gone up about 6 to 8 levels for each of the characters. And this obviously gave me a nice little boost in terms of my HP and my strength. So Zidane now has close to 4,500, and Freya has also boosted above 4,000, which was going to be very useful for me because we need to survive as many turns as possible. I mean, we have this guy to fight, and then of course we literally have Necron as well. And so beating Trance Kuja alone is not enough. And so I felt like eventually we were just going to need to invest in some levels anyway. So I definitely didn't make the push to 99 at this stage. but I definitely started to boost my levels a little bit to increase my chances. And so we're getting set up one more time here. As I say, Chimera Armlets to reduce the holy damage, a pumice piece to absorb holy damage for one of the characters, and in general, basically other than that, there's not too much more I can do. Just trying to do as much damage as I can, trying to have some decent magic evasion, and hopefully this will be enough to get us over the hill. Flare comes in. And you're going to see the extra levels haven't made an incredible difference to our resilience here. But at least we have more HP. And we're doing more damage as well, which is, of course, incredibly important. But that miss is still just very frustrating. Like, it really swings things the other way. Comes in with a reflect, though. So this was definitely a bit more promising. And if you look at the trance gauges, I didn't perfectly optimize it. I didn't get everybody to like 99% trance, but I thought maybe 1 or 2 flare stars will be enough to get the trance out. So we'll see. I also wanted to basically preserve it for Necron as well, potentially. But I didn't want everyone to have a trance just yet. It didn't feel like it was that desperate. So we'll see how this goes. Another flare comes in. 2,546. Sometimes like the damage I just couldn't understand. Like, the variation can be pretty huge at times. I mean, generally, Steiner and Freya's armors tend to be a little bit better than the others defensively, but Flare doing 2,500 definitely threw me off a little. It's like from the Flare star, they took relatively similar damage. But there we go. Second one coming in. And it's funny because Steiner would have been the one to, of course, get a trance, but he's the one that's going to definitely get KO'd here. So we just really need the firepower and the RNG to blast through this phase once these flare stars start to come in. No holies to heal me up either, unfortunately, because then you can obviously survive an extra flare star every time it comes in. Maybe 2, depending on how much it heals you for. So Curaga becomes less and less effective because we're doing like more damage than the Curaga now. So a good 6,500 there. So in terms of net damage, we're still doing pretty well here, despite the Curagas. And the longer the 3 of us stay alive, the better, but then he just annoyingly gets a flare star in. So the Curaga seems like a bit of a counter-attack, almost. Like, I'm not sure how the moves work there, but getting to do Curaga and then immediately flare star before I can move is definitely a very, like, arsehole kind of final boss type move. But Zidane does manage to evade, but not for long. I mean, he's not going to evade 2 flare stars back to back. That's going to be a bit of a big ask. And there you go. Still failed. And so at this stage, it was starting to look increasingly more and more RNG reliant, and to a level where I wasn't happy with it anymore. And so then I started to pull my final trump card out, which was the fact that since this is an attack only challenge and not like an auto battle challenge, I can heal myself using my elemental stuff. So I can select the attack command and I can equip, for example, a Rosetta ring and the Flame Saber and heal myself. Thankfully, Freya also has a Holy Lance and we have a pumice piece. So now I was starting to think more in those terms. I put the pumice piece onto Amarant because he's the one that would seem the most likely to get a trance and still be alive, and I had Freya to be able to heal him with her Holy Lance. Like, thankfully her Holy Lance still has a high attack power, so it's a very powerful healing tool. The Flame Saber is definitely weaker, and it's going to heal less, as you're going to see in battle, but it's still pretty useful. So from here I really had to start to resort to these types of things to give myself the best chance. I do think it's possible without attacking yourself and fighting it more like auto battle style, but I think you have to increasingly rely on like getting everyone in trance from basically from the get-go, and either doing like, you know, getting up to like level 99 and doing huge damage very, very fast, or getting a bunch of criticals and stuff as well to get you over the line. But I wasn't quite ready to do something like that yet. I wanted to basically keep my levels the way they were and see if I could still win by starting to utilize things like elemental absorption and attacking my own party members as well. So let's see the first attempt with that happening. Alright, here we go again with a slightly modified strategy. My thought for doing this was also that if Flare Star comes as a result of a counterattack, obviously I kind of have to attack him less once he starts to get to that form. And so at the end of the day, if two of my characters kind of take on more healing duties, and only two of them, the two that can do the most damage, are the only ones who attack, then it might give me a better chance. So you can see the Flame Saber doing a lot less damage, so when I'm trying to be attacking with Steiner, obviously it's not going to work quite as well. But at least now I have the option to heal my characters and give themselves a much better chance of surviving against those multiple Flare Stars that we're going to get hit by. So basically Steiner's going to heal for roughly like 1 Flare Star's worth of damage every time he heals. So here comes the first heal attack from Steiner. 2,208, that's very good healing. It's more healing than a Flare or from Flare Star, so definitely can't complain here. But it's really going to be put to the test once Flare Star starts to come in. So for now, we're still on the attack. Right, first Flare Star. Let's see who's going to be in trouble. I'm waiting to see the damage here. Probably going to be Zidane that I should prioritize. It missed him. And so that's why I changed my target here. That was a mistake from Freya, attacking Zidane there. That shouldn't have happened. But this was me still, like, this was the first time I utilized this particular method against Trance Kuja. So I still wasn't executing it perfectly here. So now it's a bit more of a mission to try and stay alive here. Trying to keep my HP up in between those Flare Star counters. Unfortunately, Holy basically almost never hits the person who has the pumice piece. I know it's a 1 in 4 chance, but still. So this didn't quite go right. I couldn't keep Steiner's HP high enough, so one of my main healers now is gone. But let's see if we can get over the line. We're going to get some Trance hits, at least. No, we're not. Wow. I'm surprised Amaran didn't end up with Trance there. And so now another Flare Star comes in, and if you look at everyone's HP, it's looking like pretty much a game over here. And so I was already thinking ahead to the next attempt and hopefully executing things a little better. But then, this happened. Both Zidane and Amaran somehow managed to evade it, which was insane. So I was like, well, okay, let's just continue. That was very annoying. You saw Freya try to heal Amaran and it did not work. So another optimization you need to make to this type of strategy is to try and keep your evasion low for whoever's being healed. Because obviously the evasion is going to apply to your party members trying to hit you as well. So we're still not quite there yet. Like, the idea is there. But in terms of like fully optimizing and executing it, I hadn't managed to achieve it quite yet. So there you go. Once the heal does come in, a big 5,000 heal there. That's huge. And so if I can keep Amaran alive for long enough like this, then we have a chance. But unfortunately, Freya can't heal herself, because I only have 1 Holy Absorption. So if I could have had a second pumice piece, and I put it on Freya, for example, then the two of them can keep each other alive almost indefinitely for this fight, and you can win. But with 1 pumice piece, this is the best I can do for now. But Trance coming up. So it missed again, wow. The magic evasion definitely helping here, but that was a very annoying miss, and I still got hit with the counter afterwards. But you can see how much longer I held on for in this attempt, even though it didn't quite go right. Then it gets its second move, but it is a Holy this time, so this worked out really well. Amaran is really like holding on here and trying his best to solo like the final part of this fight. 4,500 is very good damage too, and now surely he's going to be pushed to a Trance. Look how full his Trance gauge is. It's taken forever. But he's finally there. So he's going to get a big damage at least 1 time here, and he can survive 1 Flare Star afterwards. So we've got about another 12,000 or so damage at least, I think, to be able to do here. Can we get over the line? 5,900. He does a Curaga. We're out damaging it, so we're still in the race here. Can Amaran do it? second turn as a reflect, and it wasn't a flare star, so I'm happy with that. Or a flare for that matter. So this is still going well. And 6,300 for the win. That was awesome. So even though, as you saw, I didn't execute it properly, Freya she got to heal him at least one time for 5,000. That made a huge difference. Then we went into Trance, and then we had some Holy hitting the guy with the pumice piece finally as well. So enough of the ingredients came together to stay alive there. So it was definitely far from perfect, but I was very happy to get the job done, and Amarant managed to see us through. This ultimate here is another one of those kind of formality ones. It doesn't actually matter. And you are able to move through to the true final boss battle of this challenge against Necron. Now, the good thing here is that you are able to go into your party menu one more time and make preparations specific to Necron. If you had to survive this fight and you got tossed straight into Necron with whatever equipment you had on for that one, and whatever like HP you had left, then this challenge would have been orders of magnitude more difficult to finish. But we get a final chance to make some preparations and to go into Necron and give ourselves the best opportunity possible. So unfortunately, I would have loved to have finished it in 8 videos, but I feel like I don't want to rush through too much and just squeeze everything in to try and finish it in 8. It is Final Fantasy IX, and so we're going to need 9 videos to finish this series, because Necron, as you might imagine, it wasn't like a first time win. It wasn't easy, and we still have potentially Ozma to try and defeat as well. So I will reserve the next episode for the final fight against Necron, and maybe throw in a little bonus with Ozma at the end. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. We are so close here. We have one final battle standing between us and victory, but this final boss truly is difficult and has a lot of tools to make it very, very tough to win. So I will see you for the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for all the support on Patreon. That episode will of course be on there for early access, so you can see how I got on. Please remember to drop a like if you have enjoyed this video, and I'm looking forward to bringing you guys the ending of this challenge in the next episode. Take care.